Bonjour! It's time once again to go racing here in Montreal, the second largest French-speaking city in the world, and home since 1978 to the Canadian Grand Prix. We'll be seeing top speeds of around 210 miles an hour here at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, with around two-thirds of the lap taken at full throttle. High-speed chicanes spell potential danger, especially at the infamous Wall of Champions. And watch out for overtaking into the hairpin and the final chicane. Anthony Davidson, a very warm welcome to you as you join me in the commentary box for today's event. Can I get your take on Ferrari? We have a number of changes to the aerodynamic regulations this year, and the signs haven't looked good for them so far in terms of getting to grips with those changes.
It doesn't look promising for them so far. And if the new regs have hit them as hard as we think, well, I suspect they may need a few late nights at the factory to get back on track.
It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. De Jong lines up on pole position, and it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Norris, Ricciardo, Carlos Sainz, and Tsunoda. Gasly, Mick Schumacher, Latifi and Esteban Ocon, Stroll, Russell, and Guan Yu Zhou and Verstappen, Giovinazzi, Aitken, Valtteri Bottas and Callum Ilott, Matsushita and Nikita Mazepin. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track and get this Grand Prix underway. Brilliant stuff from Williams today. What a superb victory. And talk to me, what do you think it was that sealed the win for them?
Well, they certainly stood out as a driver with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
It looks like it's time once again to hand out the silverware as these successful drivers make their way to the podium. It was a gritty performance today by Williams, and they've got the race win to prove it. This is it then, race day in Spielberg for this year's Austrian Grand Prix. Not long to go before our drivers hurtle off the line and into the first turn, the Niki Lauda curve, as it was renamed in 2019 in memory of one of Formula One's most beloved figures. The Spielberg circuit then is situated 700 metres above sea level, with just 10 corners making up one of the shortest laps of the season. One time around here is a distance of 2.6 miles, with the best overtaking chances into turn 1 or the tight uphill turn 3. Joining me for the Grand Prix once again is Anthony Davidson. Can we talk about Mercedes? We have a number of changes to the aerodynamic regulations this year, and the signs haven't looked good for them so far in terms of getting to grips with those changes.
It doesn't look promising for them so far. And if the new regs have hit them as hard as we think, well, I suspect they may need a few late nights at the factory to get back on track.
Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. De Jong lines up on pole position, with Charles Leclerc alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Ricciardo, Carlos Sainz and Latifi, Tsunoda, Ocon, Mick Schumacher and Lance Stroll. Norris, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Zhou, Antonio Giovinazzi and Bottas, Mazepin, Aitken, Nobuharu Matsushita and Pierre Gasly. Ilott and George Russell ends our grid lineup. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out. Then let's see who can prevail today.